Alright, boys. This is probably the most scuffed recording ever. But the laptop doesn't have a microphone. My phone does, so I just spent about an hour installing a program on my phone and my laptop to allow this to work. And my loving, wonderful fiance is across the room with a newborn next to her and allowing me to do this. So I told her I'll be quick. I love you.
Love you too.
All right.
Go on.
So all of us voted. Um, I know you guys can't see me, but we're the same thing as last year. We're just going to look at the responses one by one and talk about them, and then look at the second round of voting as well. Then kind of drill in on the specifics a bit more and go from there. Um, so the first one, should contracts change from fixed increases to being customized each year? This one is a major change and passes with 8-3. I will get some specifics together on this, but this will change, so we will be doing contracts manually instead of that fixed cost increase that it is now. I had the idea to add in a voting of should we just restructure some contracts now, but I think that would break a lot of stuff, so I think this will just be moving forward in the future. Next question, should unused cap be eligible to be applied to future years in contracts? Overwhelmingly, yes. Um, I'm going to type up a change to this, and that'll be something we vote on as well on the specifics, but I think it'll basically be what we talked about in the league chat if you didn't see it. Any cut of a player after December 1st is just dead cap. So on December 1st, whatever you've got is what you have. And then anything you have at the end of the year is what will actually roll over. This way it stops the crazy bids on some of these players towards the end of the season. Currently, players can be cut with no penalty if they're signed for $24 or less. Should this number be lowered? Overwhelmingly, yes. There's a lot of no's here. 4 people voted no, but a lot of people did vote yes. So this is going to change to only 3 different options of everybody. $5 or $10 will be the 3 that we'll vote on, and we'll re-vote on that one. Conditional trades will now be allowed. I'll make a sheet to track this. I'm going to need to know anytime a trade's conditional. This way we can make sure that condition can be met. I think the rules are going to say the teams are responsible for tracking their own conditions. I don't have the time to look at everything, but if you know that you traded for a second round pick that could turn into a first, you're tracking that for us, and together that's part of the deal. Should teams in the toilet bowl compete for extra cap space? No, they will not. I like the idea of it, but then it's kind of rewarding failure, so meh. Should there be a limit to how much for a team can trade for or away? Yes. So this wins. We're going to re-vote. It was 6-5, so now we're re-voting for yes for everybody involved in the trade or a percentage of the cap room. So these no votes will turn to yes in some capacity to see which route we're going to go. Should there be an off-season cut period? Penalties are slightly reduced for cutting players? Yes, there will be. We're going to vote on the specifics of what the discount is. The options are very low. Should hometown discounts exist? What if one of rookie deal expires? The deal will be cheaper, and the answer is yes. I think that was a good idea. Should you be able to borrow cap from a future year? No, you cannot. Overwhelming no, which is good. I did not like that rule, but I like the idea to vote on it. Season-ending IR, should they refund some of their money? Yes and no, and only if it happens in week 8. So this is going to be a yes. We'll see if it's in week 8 or sooner, or overall with the second round of voting. Should there be luxury tax? There is going to be a luxury tax. This won just barely. So we'll vote on if it's just a luxury tax if you go over in your current year, like if you trade for extra cap room, or if it's only if you go negative in the future years. So we'll re-vote on that one. Uh-oh, you guys can maybe hear the little guy. He sleeps really well though, so this isn't bothering him, I swear. He's a good boy. During the resigning period, we are switching to roster moves. So you'll see more of those below in a second, but there'll be roster moves instead of the one big extension, 2 short extension, 1 RFA. There'll be 4 roster moves. There's also a lot of people who say they want 5 roster moves, so we're going to vote again if it should just be 4 or 5 roster moves. So these are additional roster moves that were voted on to pass. The Prove It contract was a success, so players can be extended for 1 year with no cap increase, but if they get ranked higher than they were before, their cap hit's going to go up big time. Incentive-based contracts failed, which is nice. It's less tracking for me. Thank you, guys. Restructurings passed 9 of 11 teams voted yes, and franchise taggings passed 8. So I'll get some rules typed up for all that as well, and in the rule book to kind of give some more details. But now you'll have re-signing, restructuring, prove it deals, re-signing, RFA, franchise tag, contract restructures. So prove it contracts. There'll be a lot of different things, so to kind of give you some more stuff to do in the off season. Should you be able to trade roster moves like signings, contracts, etc.? Barely fails. 6-5 for no. Should screenshots of trade offers and DMs be allowed? Yes, they will be. A really good point with this, though, that we're going to talk about is: are there any concerns with this? Are there any things we should restrict? Right? We don't want people to be assholes. So some of that, but we'll hammer out some specifics and guidelines. Did he catch that? Justin Jefferson's built different, man. Should we add another flex spot? No, we will not. Unused cap has rolled over 25% of its current value. Should it increase? It is barely going to win the vote with 6 to 5. I think I just said we're going to do 33 to keep this in the middle because it was overwhelming yes to 50 and no at 25. So I think I'm making the executive power move decision to say we're going to move it to 33% and not vote on this again because it's a nice middle ground there. Again, for perspective, Rick rolled over I forget how much money, but it was not a lot with how much he had in the cap room sitting there. I think it was like $46 when he had like $200 or something around those lines. So 33% I think is a nice buff. Should the 6 seed make playoffs based off their record instead of the remaining points for? It will be based off the record. So it used to be the most remaining points for made the playoffs. It's not going to be based off of best record remaining. When extending a contract in the re-signing period, can you extend anybody or just expiring? It's going to be anybody. Extensions will, the way that if you extend a player, the way it's like that formula with the percentages of 1.2 plus 5. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then don't worry. When you extend a player, you're going to be told how much money you have to distribute over how long you want to in their contract. It's going to be determined for you. The only time you'll determine how much money you're spending on somebody over their contract on your own is in the veteran auction, but that'll all come out in the rule book, and I'll make a video later on explaining all the big changes. Should you have to pay for a future year trading after a 3rd or 4th round pick or when? So a bit of a split. A lot of people saying before the current year playoffs. A lot of people saying before the traded pick playoffs. A lot of people saying immediately. I think we'll just do the current year playoffs here because it's tough. There's no majority. There's a plurality, but there's no majority. So I think we're just going to do interception lines. I think we're just going to do before the current year's playoffs, but we'll see. Should the trade deadline move back to week 15 once the playoffs begin? No. Should the best team, here you go, Cam. You're going to be excited about this one. Best team from each division currently makes the playoffs, and they are the numbers 1, 2, and 3 seeds. Should be changed as the top teams make the playoffs, but the seeds are determined by normal tiebreaker rules. Sorry, Cam, you got voted down. It's going to stay the same way it is now. So even though there were 2 teams that had a higher record than the 3rd seed, the 3rd seed will still go to the worst division winner, if that makes sense. Should we split the rookie draft up with rounds 1 and 2 on 5, 1, 3, and 4 on 7, 1? No. Pretty overwhelming there. Sorry, I like the idea. Should holdouts be based off of points per game instead of positional ranking at the end of the year? Yes, no, and only towards running back. So yes wins. We'll do another. I guess we don't really need to do another round of votes, right? This is going to be towards everybody. It doesn't need to only be towards RBs because even if all these no's switch to running backs, majority is still yes. So we're good there. Should emergency subs exist? No. And then the birthday thing. I got a project's birthday as well. Shout out Rick for saying February 30th is his birthday. So this is all the changes. This could end the video, and that would suck if it does. I'm hoping it doesn't, but I'm going to do a thing to show you guys what's going on in our next round of voting. Rule change voting round 2. Sweet. All right, so here are the questions. Same thing, starting with your team name. Contracts are now going to be written by each team, but there's a minimum percentage to be paid each year. This way you can't pay someone $1 this year, $99 next year. This is what the minimums are going to be. This way you can really front load or back load contracts if you want to. You can keep it even every year where it doesn't increase. You can really do whatever you want, but there's a minimum threshold I think this gives a really good advantage in 2-year deals where you can really pay someone a whole bunch of money now and then have it cheaper next year, or the opposite. But this keeps it really even for the other years as well, but still gives you some flexibility. Wouldn't be fair if you could do the $1 this year, 99 next year, but I like these numbers, but I'd love some feedback on it if you guys think they should go up, down, or if they're just right. Like the Three Little Bears or whatever the hell. Goldilocks, right? Goldilocks and Three Bears? That's the one. Third, of unused cap space at the end of the season will now be applied to future years. Should this change to be a higher percentage for specific contracts? So if you apply it to your cap room, you just always have it. But if you apply it to a specific player and you trade that player, you lose that benefit. Should that exist, or should it just be 33% for both? Penalty for cutting players is going to be reduced. Should it be $10 or less, has no penalty, 5 or less has no penalty, or anybody has a penalty? There is going to be a limit on how much cap space a team can trade for. Did I scroll over that question? Yes. Should there be a limit for how much a team can trade for or away in space? Yes, barely wins. Sorry, that's my fault, guys. Yes, barely wins, so we're going to have these no votes vote again. Should it be equal to a percentage of the cap room, or should it be equal to the players involved? I think I did talk about that. So should it be a percentage of the cap room or players involved in the trade? And then I also just posed the question, should there be, so this is how much can you trade for? Should there be a limit to how much can trade? Oh, there is a limit to how much a team can trade for. Should there be a limit on how much a team can trade away? Basically, so you can trade for, you're going to be limited how much you can trade for, but can you just trade away the same amount or more or less, or no? 10%, 15%, or 20% discount for cutting players in the offseason. If someone goes on that ending IR, any injury, or week before or before week 8. Luxury tax now exists. Should it be if you go over the base cap, or if you go negative in a future year? During the re-signing period, should you have 4 or 5 roster moves? Any comments on the screenshots or DMs is now being allowed? Hold off some basic point per game. We don't need to do that one anymore. Bless you. And then what's the minimum number of games that must be played for a player to hold out as well? That'll do it.